UFC Vegas 50. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Thiago Santos fights the surging Magomed Ankalaev. Should be a pretty fun one, guys. Smash that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and share the video as well. Let's jump right into these predictions. Starting it off, it is Tafon Nchukwi versus Azamat Murzakanov. I like this fight at light heavyweight a lot. Both prospects, Azamat coming into the UFC with a lot of hype. I have to pick the Azamat side here. I just feel like he's more dynamic everywhere this fight goes. He definitely is the technically superior fighter, though. Tafon Nchukwi is a powerhouse. Very physically strong, does good work in the clinch, and is still dangerous with his knockout power, though. Wins by decision in his UFC fights. He has a lot of knockouts outside of the UFC. The thing is, Azamat Murzakanov, I think striking will be a problem. He's a pretty light-footed southpaw, moves very well, especially for a guy at 205. 5'10" versus 6 feet. So, I mean, Murzakanov truly is an undersized light heavyweight. And in his debut, he was willing to fight at heavyweight against Jared Vanderaa. That fight didn't come to fruition, though. Tafon Nchukwi on the opposite side does have a pretty big reach advantage, but I think the speed disadvantage is fairly substantial. I think Murzakanov is going to outwork him with the stand-up. I feel like he gets in and out of range really well. His boxing is good. I think there's good hooks and overhands as he comes inside. Could potentially hurt Tafon Nchukwi, but I do have to say, I'm not questioning Nchukwi's chin in any sense. I think he's a durable fighter. He definitely wants it, and I expect him to come to win and make it a difficult fight. But I think Azamat Murzakanov wins by a unanimous decision. I could see a late TKO potentially, but I really am going the decision side. As far as this first fight's bets to potentially play, Murzakanov straight around -170, but you can actually find him down at -143 best value. Tafon Nchukwi, the dog, best value at about +147. Not a bad play on the Murzakanov side. I do think he gets it done. I think he's a guy to watch, but don't sleep on Tafon Nchukwi. He is the younger man by 8 years. I think for Murzakanov, it's like now or never, and I think he'll win this bout. But Nchukwi's going to be around in the UFC for a while, and I still am excited for the growth, overall, because he did look better in that Mike Rodriguez fight than we saw prior in that Jung Young Park fight. 205 is a good weight class for him, but I think Murzakanov wins by a hard-fought decision. Should be a good one to start the night off. Next fight of the night, Guido Cannetti versus Kris Moutinho. After Moutinho showed absolute grit, absolute courage, taking the fight against Sean O'Malley on short notice, getting beaten up, but he survived until the very end, stopped late in that third round. He fights Guido Cannetti. I'm going the Moutinho side here. He's not a bad fighter at all. He has a pretty tricky stand-up game, also fights out of the southpaw stance, as does Guido Cannetti on the opposite side. Moutinho is more scrappy to me. I think he's got quicker hands than Cannetti, though I think Cannetti's probably the better kicker of the two. He's got some pretty heavy kicks to the body and to the legs. Fighting another southpaw, I'm interested to see how that goes for Cannetti. I think Kris Moutinho will find his way inside. I think he's going to let his hands fly in close. I feel like the relentless pressure will be a problem. I think Kris Moutinho and Cannetti go after it here. I think it's a fun fight. Both coming off losses, bad losing streak, 3 in a row. For Cannetti, he needs this, but he's 42 years of age. Moutinho right now, 29. He's definitely entering, if not already is, in his physical prime. I think Kris Moutinho gets the win. Unanimous decision in this one. Guido Cannetti, the last one he lost to Mano Martinez. I'm just going to quickly look at the losing streak. Dana Batrigrol, and then also got choked out by Marlon Chito Vera, which isn't a bad loss. That loss is held up well. I don't know about Moutinho getting the knockout. He could find the chin and hurt Cannetti, and maybe he does put him down, but I'm really leaning that decision side for Kris Moutinho. As far as the betting, Moutinho is best value -138. Guido Cannetti +127. You'll find it in those ranges. Moutinho, slight favorite. I do think he gets it done against the aging vet Guido Cannetti. Moutinho for his first win in the UFC. Next fight of the night, Cody Brundage versus Dalcha Lungiambula. Brundage is a good wrestler, and we got to note that out the gate. Lungiambula, an absolute powerhouse. I think Cody Brundage can win this fight. You look at the recent bout, he fought Nick Maximov. that's aged well. I mean, Maximov beats Punale Soriano, who's supposed to be, the real deal, big prospect to watch. Cody Brundage gave him a tricky fight. I feel like Cody Brundage's wrestling here is the real advantage. Dalcha Lambagula, a very physically strong guy. He's got a judo background. He's explosive, but doesn't necessarily have great striking tools. He's not all that good with his boxing. I mean, really, neither is Brundage. Both guys, striking wise, on the lower levels. I think the wrestling edge for Brundage, I don't think it's easy to take down and control Lungiambula. And if he does get him down, it might just be for moments and then Dalcha finding his way back up. I see Brundage potentially fighting with a very cage pressure heavy style, looking to put Lungiambula against the cage, hold him there, beat him up a bit, grind towards a decision. I'm really leaning this Cody Brundage wins by a decision side. Granted, lots of question marks around him. 6-2 record, 11-3. Dalcha Lambagula, a lot more experience for him. Not necessarily great looks on either side. Not guys that I'd love throwing money down on. I gotta say, I do like the size advantage for Brundage as far as the height, but then the reach is 4 inches in the favor of the 5'8" Dalcha Lambagula. I think that Brundage gets it done. Maybe a little bit better technical striking. Lungiambula touches you, he'll do some damage, but hasn't been able to find that really often in the UFC. And I think Cody Brundage wins a hard-fought decision. I don't think he's a bad fighter. Looking at the odds, Brundage underdog plus 108 best value. Dalcha Lungiambula minus 114. Give me Cody Brundage as a dog for the win. I'm going decision on this fight. Should be an interesting one in the middleweight division there. Next fight of the night, Sabina Mazo versus Miranda Maverick. Maverick is back in action, which I am excited for. She was fortunately robbed against Macy Barber, and then Erin Blanchfield showed her a different level. She fights Sabina Mazo here, who I don't think is an easy test for her, but I have to lean the Miranda Maverick side. I still think she's a pretty damn good prospect. Both girls super young in their careers, and honestly, improvements can be happening extremely quick. Striking edge definitely goes towards Mazo, but I feel like Miranda Maverick will find the takedown here. I feel like when you look at Mazo's range, she throws decent punches and enters well. But with Maverick, I think the relentless pressure and the counter takedown attempts, maybe Mazo throws a kick, it's caught by Maverick. I feel like Maverick finds a way to get it to the floor. If she's caught in a kickboxing match and Mazo can defend the takedowns, I think Miranda Maverick could potentially be in trouble. Because of recent bouts, like, I would stay off the Maverick betting side. If you're on the Mazo side, I guess I would like that bet a lot better. But I'm picking Miranda Maverick to win this fight by a decision. Mazo's in the fight. It's a toss-up for me. I think it's extremely close, but I'm going to still go with Maverick. The odds to me are a little bit wrong here. I feel like they're way too favorable towards Miranda Maverick. I mean, you look at the odds around minus 300, minus 335. I don't know where this plus 145 comes from. That's from Sportsbet. Don't know if that's accurate, but it's not going to last because everywhere else has her as a very strong favorite. Sabina Mazo is not a plus 255 dog here. Maybe it's minus 150. Miranda Maverick as a favorite, but this is a terrible line. So on the betting side, I'm calling it a dog or pass. I'm not throwing money on Maverick. You let me down in the past, let's say. I don't think she's a bad fighter, though. She's got a lot of skills, improving for sure. Her stand-up game is good. She's a southpaw with heavy pressure. She's pretty athletic, closes the distance well. I think if Maverick lands the takedowns, she wins the fight. If she's caught up in a kickboxing match, Sabina Mazo will outstrike her for 3 rounds for sure, but I think we'll see Maverick find it. I'm going Maverick decision or submission in this one. Could potentially see her locking up a sub if she gets Mazo down, is able to grind her a bit, fatigue her, and then find a real dominant position and set that submission up. I'm going the Maverick side, but as I said, odds are ugly in this one. Don't like it. No touch on the line for me. Maybe a dog or pass if you're looking to touch that one. Next fight of the night, Damon Jackson versus Kamuela Kirk. I was really impressed by Kirk in his debut. He looked good against Makwan Amirkhani. Jackson came in as a debuting guy. He beats Mirsad Bektik. Big moment. Lost to Ilia Topuria, then beat Charles Rosa. It's a fun fight here. I'm on the Kamuela Kirk side. I actually think he's pretty damn good and developing really well. His stand-up game is pretty slick. I like the way he's patient with his striking, but he still holds his ground and puts steady pressure. He has pretty good straight punches, and he does attack the body as well, which is something I really like to see from fighters. Ones that are just headhunters are going to have a harder time finding that knockout. You look at Damon Jackson's bad knockout loss to Topuria. There were some body shots that set that one up. I think Kirk is going to let his hands fly in this fight. I think on the ground it favors Kirk. Damon Jackson is a tough guy striking for sure. I mean, he's decent. He's got that high guard style. He's pressing in, but he's a little awkward at times. And I see moments of hitability for Damon Jackson that Kirk will capitalize on the feet. If it goes to the floor, I'm favoring the Kirk side. I feel like that Kamuela Kirk is just the superior fighter here. I'm going Kirk wins by knockout. I'm thinking second round, maybe third. I think overall, though, Kirk is a guy that I'm looking at strongly as far as the betting side. Value for him is super close, minus 122 for Kirk. Damon Jackson, plus 120. I like that Kamuela Kirk side. Give me him here. I'm thinking knockout, maybe TKO as well. I think he beats Damon Jackson in this fight and earns himself his second win in the UFC. And I think Kamuela Kirk's developing nicely, man. Both guys still in their relative prime, but Kamuela Kirk at 27 has shown big improvements. An ex-contender series guy, lost to Billy Q there, has turned it up. 3-fight winning streak. He's going to beat Damon Jackson, and he is going to knock him out as well. Exciting featherweight prospect fight here. Next fight of the night, Trevin Jones versus Javid Basharat. Basharat's coming in with a lot of hype, undefeated Afghanistani fighter, but he's taking a true challenge with Trevin Jones, a guy that's never an easy out for anybody. I look at Basharat's contender series fights and I see opportunities for Jones, and for that reason, I'm going Trevin Jones. I'm going with the underdog Jones to get the win over the hot prospect on the rise. Trevin Jones is a really athletic southpaw. Not necessarily the most technical striker, but he's decent on the stand-up. He's explosive. He hits hard. If he lands a big shot, he can knock you out. Knocked out Mario Batista recently. Knocked out Timur Valiev before it was overturned. He can be worn on and potentially grinded against the fence, maybe taken down a bit. Better fighters can possibly submit him. Of course, Javid Basharat will have opportunities to grab that neck if Jones is careless. But I expect Jones to mind his P's and Q's. I think that he can outstrike Javid. Javid is a pretty confident striker, but he keeps that chin a bit high. From what I've seen of him, I think overhands might land. I still like Javid a lot. I think he's a real prospect. He's got a pretty smooth striking style, extremely quick with the kicks. But seeing that chin up there, I think Jones could land something over the top. Javid also dangerous on the ground, though, so we'll note that. Maybe he goes out there, out-wrestles Trevin Jones, which is something that is a lot easier said than done. I think Jones is going to be really hard to deal with in the clinch. Physically strong guy, good in those positions, can land takedowns for himself. If he fights smart, I think he gets the win. I think he potentially puts Javid down. Granted, yeah, it's hard to say a guy that's 11-0 is going to get knocked out. We haven't seen it yet. But I think Trevin Jones is a guy to end that undefeated streak. I'm going to go the Trevin Jones side. Javid's a real prospect, but I'm not sold just yet, and we're going to find out on fight night. As far as the odds for this one, Javid is a near minus 150 favorite. Trevin Jones plus 135. I'm liking that Trevin Jones side. I like Javid striking, but the chin is a bit high. I think Jones is the more explosive and physically strong guy. See what happens in the middle grounds there, but I think Jones can pull this one off. Very exciting fight. Next fight of the night, JJ Aldrich versus Gillian Robertson. Some ladies going after it in the flyweight division. Both girls like the grappling department. I have to go Gillian Robertson. Really not an easy girl to deal with on the ground. Both girls fight out of the, Aldrich fights out of the southpaw stance. Gillian Robertson, not really a striker. You know, her stand-up game is very iffy. Aldrich is not a fantastic striker either. Not a ton of power on the hands of either side. I mean, Robertson in her last fight fought Priscilla Cachoeira, who's a hard puncher, a girl that can really do some serious damage if she touches that chin. I think JJ Aldrich striking is a non-factor here unless they're only striking. I believe Robertson will eventually find takedowns. If she can't find takedowns, at the very least, I think she finds control time against the cage and wears on Aldrich. I like the Gillian Robertson side. I think we're probably going long here. I'm leaning Robertson decision. Maybe could lock up a sub, but I think that's a lot easier said than done against JJ Aldrich. Robertson's stand-up's improving, but she's going to look for the takedowns early. I think Aldrich will be expecting that. I know she's confident in her grappling tools, but I think the level difference on the ground favors Gillian Robertson by a fair amount, and I think she's going to put on a pretty decent display. As far as the odds for this fight, Robertson is a favorite around the minus 132 range at best value. Aldrich plus 133. I like Gillian Robertson and potentially winning a decision. And the next fight of the night is our featured prelim, Matthew Semelsberger versus AJ Fletcher. Fletcher's a real prospect. I like what I've seen from Fletcher. This is a difficult debuting matchup. I'm picking the Matthew Semelsberger side, the longer guy by a fair amount. 8-inch reach advantage. AJ Fletcher has that Cody Garbrandt reach where he's really got kind of short arms. But I'll tell you this, AJ Fletcher has some power in his hooks. He's an underrated wrestler. He doesn't come from an extensive wrestling background, but has developed it really well for mixed martial arts. His calf kicks are very good, and he's constant with the pressure. I like the boxing of AJ Fletcher. The thing is, I like the boxing, the kickboxing of Matthew Semelsberger too. From range, he has a serious advantage. He does have a lot of power in that right hand, and he throws it confidently, and if it lands, I think it could do some damage here. He's shown solid durability. He fought Chaos Williams, went the full 3 rounds, and Williams is an absolute finisher. I think the straight punches are what's going to lead Semelsberger to victory here. Will he throw straight punches? I believe so. I think he'll know the game plan to beat a tricky guy like AJ Fletcher. I think he'll fend off any potential submission or takedown attempts thrown at him by Fletcher. I think Fletcher's best shots are going to be in the real close distance, winging hooks, powerful overhands. And if he touches the chin, of course, he can do damage. But I'm confident that Semelsberger can eat the strikes, might even be able to get a knockout for himself. But I will say, I got to respect what I've seen from Fletcher. I'm leaning towards that decision side for Semelsberger, but there definitely could be a knockout here. Now, as far as the odds, Semelsberger nearing minus 250, minus 240, best value. AJ Fletcher about plus 216 as an underdog. I like Fletcher as a prospect. I really do. But they're throwing him such a difficult debuting matchup. I think Matthew Semelsberger gets himself a dominant win and beats AJ the Ghost Fletcher. Now let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and turn those post notifications on. Bruno Silva versus Alex Pereira. Amazing matchmaking. Throwing Bruno Silva to the lion here in Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is the pick to win the fight. I mean, it's extremely hard to pick against a guy that looks like he's made out of steel. His stand-up game is fantastic. He has the mastery of the kickboxing game. Knees, elbows, punches. You look at that debut that he had, and it was against Andre Michailidis. Even when he was being controlled in grappling positions, even when Michailidis had landed takedowns, look at the face after the first round. If Pereira touches you, he does serious damage. Bruno Silva's a guy that's there to be hit. Jordan Wright almost knocked him out in the first 10 seconds of their fight. I don't know if it was really the first 10, but early in their first round, Bruno Silva got caught badly. You look at Alex Pereira, if he touches you one time, I believe you go down. Bruno Silva's a powerful striker, but definitely more so the MMA style striking. He's going to wing big power hooks at you. He's going to let them fly confidently. He wants to knock out. Doesn't really have the grappling chops. Maybe in a pure jiu-jitsu match, Bruno Silva could beat Alex Pereira, but I think Alex Pereira's striking is on an absolute different level. I think it's going to be on display here. I think he's going to put it on Bruno Silva in a round. I'm thinking first round knockout. If Bruno Silva's smart here, he's diving at the legs early. But he's known for being a striker. Is he going to go away from that? That's just not his style. He might do it, but I think he's going to get knocked out trying. If he stands, he's going to get knocked out. I think this is just the worst possible matchup for Bruno Silva. This is great showcase fight for Alex Pereira because you're fighting a guy who's known as a very decent MMA striker with knockout power versus high-level kickboxing. A guy, Alex Pereira, who beat Israel Adesanya twice, brutally knocked him out as well. I think Silva's getting put to sleep here. I love the mastery kickboxing from Pereira. He's excellent in the clinch as well. Big knockout power. Look for punches in close range. Teeps to the body that will do damage. In the clinch, he'll be death with the elbows, flying knees. I think he's knocking Bruno Silva out. 4 minutes or less here. I think he's going to make easy work of him. And Alex Pereira is really just skyrocketing up as far as his stock. Now, the betting side on this one is something I like. Minus 167 best value Pereira. Bruno Silva plus 165 dog. I like Alex Pereira all day here. I think the bet is actually undervalued. I could see him at a minus 230, minus 250. I think Andreas Michailidis is a more difficult matchup for Alex Pereira than Bruno Silva. This is an easy fight for Pereira. He's going to knock him out in the first round. Great fight to start off. Great fight. Next fight of the night. Drew Dober versus Terrence McKinney. see these two throw down. It's short notice. McKinney just fought 2 weeks ago, less really than 2 weeks ago against Faraziam, easily submitting him in the first round. He now faces a formerly ranked guy, a true OG vet of MMA and the UFC, in Drew Dober. I love this fight. And I think it just shows the confidence in McKinney that he has in himself and the UFC has in him. Both guys southpaws, which I like to see this matchup. Drew Dober is built like a tank, but Terrence McKinney hits like a truck and has really good grappling. That's what we found out against Faraziam. We knew he was a good wrestler, but he can grapple too. I'm picking the Terrence McKinney side. I think he is going to put it on Drew Dober. Striking, I think Dober's in real trouble with this kid. Terrence McKinney hits extremely hard. He's got that natural, heavy-handed knockout power that's gifted towards him. He has great dexterity. His kicks are fantastic. On the ground, he's extremely heavy on top. He's more explosive than Dober. I think he's more dangerous with the submissions, more dangerous on the feet. Drew Dober's a hard-hitting lightweight, though, and he's built like a truck. I mean, his base is insane. The guy's legs are monstrous, but I think he's going to sleep here in this fight. I mean, Dober's best chances are probably the stand-up and catching Terrence McKinney. I think if it goes to the floor, it favors McKinney, but I also think striking, it favors McKinney. I think he is going to put on the performance of a lifetime, beating Drew Dober. I'm thinking first round knockout. I could see it in the second. It's going to be the Terrence McKinney show. And I think he really emerges as a contender now going into, the next, half of 2022. This is a huge opportunity for him. As far as the odds, Dober, big favorite around -195. Terrence McKinney, the dog, around +177. Give me the underdog, Terrence McKinney. I think he's going to get the win. Inside distance might be a good one to play it because honestly, McKinney's wrestling chops and his submissions aren't bad. He potentially could get the back of Dober and choke him out. But let's go Terrence McKinney wins by knockout, and he's going to beat Drew Dober here. Great opportunity. And I really can't wait for it. Next fight of the night, Khalil Roundtree versus Carl Robertson. Battle of the light heavyweight strikers here. Robertson has fought in professional kickboxing. Roundtree, known as more so a pure MMA striker, has definitely struggled in the grappling against fighters. But I think in this one, he's going to find Robertson's willing to engage with him striking. I think Khalil's going to knock Carl Robertson out. Even though Robertson has fought at a high level in kickboxing, doesn't necessarily translate. I mean, you look at Gohan Saki, he stepped into the cage and was immediately knocked out by Khalil Roundtree with one big punch. Carl Robertson brings a dangerous stand-up game. He's a pretty technical southpaw. And, both guys being southpaws, that'll be something that's interesting as well. He's pretty quick with his striking. I like the dexterity on the kicks. He can throw up high kicks extremely fast. And his hands aren't bad as well. And he keeps that head moving off the center line, which is good to see. But Khalil Roundtree on the opposite side is just a powerhouse to me. If he touches you, you go down. Has that special knockout power. Puts heavy pressure on his opponents. Really likes the hooks when he closes distance. Robertson, of course, could have a moment and counter him, and if Khalil Roundtree isn't ready for it, Carl could put him down. But I think Khalil's going to be on his game here. He's showing evolution and a bit more patience, though he has his moments where he goes a little crazy. Definitely at 205 pounds, Khalil Roundtree is going to be a problem for a lot of guys who want to fight in the stand-up. Big knee stomp to destroy the leg of Modestas Bauskas in the last one. I think Khalil Roundtree is going to knock Carl Robertson out here. Leaning second round knockout. Round is a tricky one to pick. Overall, I think we're going to see Khalil sleep Carl Robertson here and get himself a signature win. And I love that it's striker versus striker. Odds, Roundtree around +105 as a dog. Carl Robertson can also be found at plus money, +101. We'll call this one here a true pick'ems matchup. And I like the Khalil Roundtree side win by knockout over Carl Robertson. Fight. Next one is our featured bout of the night. Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres versus Sodiq Yusuff. Caceres is being given the ultimate opportunity and the ultimate test. This is not an easy fight for him. And Caceres is on an absolute roll right now. But he's fighting Sodiq Yusuff, who I think can match him for the speed, surpasses him with the power. Biggest advantage Caceres has is the range. Will that be enough to win the fight? I'm really leaning towards the way of Sodiq. I want to pick Caceres with everything, and I might even be betting the Caceres side, but I'm very concerned that Sodiq Yusuff is going to find a straight right down the center line. He has knockout power. He's very explosive. Caceres, in his last fight, Sang-Woo Choi, let me see the name, man. The names escape me. It was against Sang-Woo Choi, yes. It was a moment that he was dropped, and then an illegal knee was thrown by Choi. But Alex Caceres, I believe, was going to get knocked out. Then he found the back out the submission. He doesn't find it against Yusuf. I don't think he finds himself in unlucky situations here. Yusuf also has really nasty to the rear leg of southpaws. Caceres being a rangy southpaw, that's going to be something to note. Not a ton of power on the Caceres side. I don't see chin problems on the Yusuf side. I think that Alex Caceres definitely is in this fight. I think we're going long here. I'm leaning the Sodiq Yusuf wins by decision side. But I could see it for Bruce Leroy. Overall, that's a great fight to start this, I guess, to really, capitalize on the main card, because that's the feature bout of the night. Tricky one to pick. I think the odds should be way closer. Yusuf minus 220, Caceres plus 205. I'm going to go Sodiq Yusuf wins by a decision, but Bruce Leroy is not an easy out. Been getting better and better and moving extremely well on the feet. Striking, he keeps the movement flowing, throws good straight shots, but I just think Yusuf capitalizes on the little moments, finds his way inside, does some more damage, maybe gets a knockout as well, but leaning that decision for Sodiq Yusuf's side. Should be a damn good fight. Co-main event of the evening, Marlon Moraes versus Song Yadong. They're giving Marlon hell. Once again, they're giving him a knockout artist, and Marlon has been stopped in his past 3 fights. Losses 4 out of the last 5. Probably should be 0-5 in the last 5. And they're giving him this knockout prospect, Song Yadong, who, has had some up and downs, but is really starting to find his own at 24 years of age. The boxing of Yadong is going to be too much. I got Song Yadong winning by knockout. I think he's going to sleep Marlon Moraes here. Moraes, at his best days, is one of the most dynamic kickboxers we have ever seen in the bantamweight division. Extremely dangerous switch body kicks. Destroys the low kicks. Super fast and explosive with the hands. Can find the chin with the hook in seconds. But Song Yadong, I think, is going to be a problem for him. He's more explosive, I think, at this point, because Marlon doesn't seem to explode into range like he once has. And then I think the dynamite right hand of Song Yadong is a real problem. He's got a very pressure-heavy attack. He is pretty defensively sound as well. You're not going to see much of a wrestling threat from Moraes. Without mixing in takedowns, I think he's going to have a hard time really finding a ton of success against Yadong at this point. I think Song Yadong is coming into his own. I think Marlon is on the downhill. Of course, Marlon is dangerous as always. He has a quick knockout win over Aljamain Sterling, has beaten a lot of top guys and ran towards the title shot. Unfortunately, didn't get it against Cejudo. He didn't get the win, but gave him a tough fight and was winning that first round clearly. But I do believe in deterioration. And I think Marlon Moraes is getting knocked out by Song Yadong. Yes, it's a must-win fight for Moraes. So if you're on the betting side of Yadong, maybe you're a little bit worrisome. You're a little nervous, but I'm going Yadong by knockout. Looking towards the lines here, Yadong minus 230, Moraes plus 200. I understand why people would play the Moraes dog side for sure. The odds are should be closer than, but it's because of the losing streak for Moraes and then the win streak and momentum on the side. I think Song Yadong win, knockout, thinking first or second round. I do believe he finds Marlon Moraes' chin. It seems like in the boxing, Marlon's struggling a bit. He doesn't have the same reflexes that he once did, and I think that Song Yadong is going to get that impressive knockout. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. It is Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev. We get the showcase fight for Ankalaev here. I'm picking Ankalaev to win. Santos does not have that same explosiveness that he once had entering range. He still hits like a truck, very dangerous with his kicks. But after that Jones fight, the knees definitely took a lot of damage, and I do believe it's affected him now. Look at the Johnny Walker fight. I know it's not the best example because Jamal Hill's got some smooth boxing, but he'll knock him out easily. Thiago Santos was forced to go to work for 3 rounds, and I'm telling you this, I think Magomed Ankalaev is a future title challenger. He's a southpaw who's fighting comfortably out of both stances, though. Really skilled with the kickboxing. Brutal jab, also follows it with a really nasty straight left, and then he also has just quick hands in close range in general, can rip some nasty hooks. And his lead hook is one of his best punches if he counters you. Now, he also throws good teeps, can control range pretty well. He's a little bit taller than Santos, but the reach does favor the Thiago Santos side. I feel like Ankalaev is going to be letting multi-shot combos go. I think Thiago Santos seems to struggle to string them together like he once did. Even though this is an ugly-looking knockout when Thiago Santos just was able to sprint at Jack Hermanson, I don't think that Santos is anymore. I don't think he has that explosiveness that he once had. I think the wrestling of Ankalaev is going to be something to watch for. He might be mixing in takedowns against Thiago Santos, and we have seen when Santos is on the ground, really good top-heavy pressure guys are going to give him problems. I think Ankalaev could definitely do that on the floor. I think standing up, Ankalaev actually gets the better of him at this point. I'm going Magomed Ankalaev knockout around the 3rd or 4th round. I think he's going to sleep Thiago Santos here and get himself the signature win and really ascending here towards a potential title shot. Magomed Ankalaev is a special beast. Now, as far as the betting side of things here, Magomed Ankalaev minus 420 as the favorite. Thiago Santos plus 390. I like the Magomed Ankalaev side, but the odds are extremely wide. Dagestani fighters are always going to be wide favorites for the most part, and I think that Magomed Ankalaev has the goods and does get it done. Overall, pretty damn good card from bottom to top. Cannot wait for it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to the full card breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to smash that like button. New to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and share the video as well. Much love, my people. Got content dropping all week long, so stay tuned, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace, guys.